Hey everyone, Dr. Frankie Bashan here, and it's Thursday, and I'm thrilled to be here with you all again with another really important topic that I want to cover, and hopefully many of you will find it to be informative, and maybe you know people who might benefit from it, so please share it. If you have any questions about the topic, which is a very common one in our society, which is STIs, and kind of had a date and have sex with an STI. And so if you have any questions or comments, please post them. Again, I like to respond, and don't be shy, because if you're having a thought about something, then certainly many other people are also having that thought or are curious about understanding in more detail. So don't be shy. If you have not subscribed to my channel, I want to really encourage you to do so. And we're almost at 13,000, which is super, super exciting. I've been doing this for 15 years, but been practicing therapy. I'm a clinical psychologist. It's been over 20. I'm also a board certified sex therapist. During the pandemic, I got board certified. Like many people, they need to keep busy. And I was like, hey, this is what better thing to focus on, which is sex and how to help people live healthier and have healthier sex lives. And I'm also a matchmaker. So I own a matchmaking firm called Little Gay Book, and we focus on matching female identified folks. It's a queer company. So check it out, littlegaybook.com. And if you're heterosexual and you're looking for a matchmaker, or you're looking to be in the database for free, because we need people to introduce to our clients, please visit littleblackbookmatchmaking.com. And also, if you are queer and you're interested in dating female identified folks, then visit littlegaybook.com and fill out a free profile. And all right, lots more to offer on that site too. If you want to go to events and you want to do different, activities to meet people that are interesting and awesome, get on there and learn about our single mingles across the country. So I'll stop sharing all of this information, because that's not why you came here today. You came here to learn about approaching dating and sex as someone with an STI. If you grew up in the United States, it's likely many of your first impressions of sex were scaremongering, ominous warnings about STIs or sexually transmitted diseases, as they may have been called. That's if you got any sex education at all. These threats were designed to scare youth away from any kind of sexuality and heavily laden with moral overtones rather than scientific fact. Now we have a chance to reset to a much more realistic understanding of STIs and the truth that they have no moral valence, even if they do sometimes come with cultural stigma. STIs are incredibly common, in many cases curable, and most importantly, say nothing about you as a person or sexual partner. If you're one of the 1 in 5, yes, I just said 1 in 5 Americans with an STI, it may feel like a major obstacle when it comes to sex and dating. And while we'll never be able to control the judgment or misconceptions of others, it's more than possible to have a fulfilling, hot, and exciting dating life with having an STI. That is possible. You can have a fulfilling, hot, and sexy dating life. Decide how you want to disclose. So disclosure is a really important part of having an STI. It's important to disclose your STI status to potential partners, but when and how are completely up to you. Some people prefer to state their STI status publicly or as part of their dating app bio if they use dating apps, finding that this saves time and helps weed out potentially judgmental people, as well as destigmatizing, creating visibility around how commonplace STRs really are. Other people do so on a first date, or maybe a few dates in, when they know they want to continue seeing this person. The only real rules I think are important when it comes to disclosing STIs are to do so. Definitely disclose. Number 1, before you've had sex. And number 2, in a moment where sex isn't on the table. It's helpful to have any kind of significant conversation outside the heat of the moment. If you need to have a major discussion with your partner about how they interact with your mom, it puts you both in a high stakes position to try to bring it up in the car on the way to your mom's house. Does that make sense? STIs don't have to be a big deal, but it is always possible someone will react poorly, or that they'll have questions or things they want to talk through. All things that will be easier to handle if you aren't half naked under the covers. Your disclosure may well be met with one from your date too. You aren't the only person with an STI. Prioritize your own dignity and well-being. It's really important. If it's always possible that an individual date will react poorly to your disclosure, what does that mean for you? Living with an STI doesn't mean anything about you as a person. And I hope you can hear that when I say that. It doesn't mean anything about you as a person. It doesn't mean you're dirty, irresponsible, a bad partner, or that you have anything to be ashamed of. It can feel challenging to balance the truth that everyone has the right to reasonable concern about their own health, including your dates, with the truth that some people might use their anxiety to make you feel like the above things are true. Think about what responses from partners you'd like to see when you share this news with them, and what responses aren't ideal, but that you'll accept, both from casual and potentially serious partners. Maybe you're okay with answering some basic questions, but draw the line at reassuring someone through anxiety about being contaminated. What feels supportive and constructive for you when it comes to partners on this topic? What feels distressing, stigmatizing, or really turns you off? Your date's reactions to an STI disclosure can, for some people, be a helpful and useful litmus test for the way they want to continue, if they want to continue seeing this person, right? So it could be a litmus test for whether they want to continue seeing this person. Get solid on your own preferences about safer sex. Safer sex testing, and for many people, barrier methods are an important part of dating and sex with an STI. But that mandate for safety applies to your partner too. If you're the person in a relationship disclosing an STI status, you may feel that the need for safer sex is your fault, that you too could be having totally uninhibited, fun, carefree sex otherwise. First of all, there's no reason safer sex can't still be fun and carefree. Second, remember that you deserve the consideration and safety of safer sex practices just as much as your partner does. And that just because they're STI free, or think they are for that matter, doesn't mean that will always be the case, especially if you two aren't exclusive. A good litmus test for new partners is their willingness to get tested. Many people never have, assuming that they're STI free because they haven't noticed obvious symptoms, or just because they don't think they're the type of person or have the type of sex for STIs. It's a mutual responsibility to keep each other safe. And getting the facts and directly communicating about them is the first step. I hope you all found today's topic helpful. And if you know anybody who is navigating dating with an STI or has a lot of shame around STIs, please share today's talk with them. And thanks all for tuning in. And I will see you here next Thursday. Take care. Kisses, hugs, and I'll see you then.